Welcome back to Module 3-1. Before you start this module, watch how to use Notepad++ first. From this module, I want you to use Notepad++. It is a lot easier to use for HTML and CSS. From today, you will start CSS. Chapter 7 is Introduction of CSS. Chapter 8 covers more about CSS. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet. CSS is a simple mechanism for adding style, font, color, spacing to web documents. In this activity, you will use embedded CSS. You need to download chapter7.zip into proper folder. Then you should unzip it. To unzip it, right-click on chapter7.zip and choose Extract All. If you need, move files in proper places. Open launch.html and add a style opening tag and style closing tag to embed CSS in header section. When you put CSS inside HTML, this is how you should start. In this CSS, you will change the font color to maroon for every P elements in launch.html. P inside the style is a selector. It indicates that the maroon color format will be applied for every P. Selector P uses curly brackets. Color is a property of selector P. At the end of a property, you should use a colon to separate the property and its value. Maroon is a value of property color. This is the result of embedded CSS. Add more selectors H1 and H2. Then format them with a font family sans serif and color gray. Since select H1 and H2 have some same format, you can pull them out and merge them together with a comma. This is the result so far. In this activity, you will create an independent CSS file and connect it to a HTML file. You can connect one independent CSS file to several HTML files. Also, a HTML file can have several CSS files. Open blank Notepad++ and type CSS codes. Then save it as launch.css in the same folder where launch.html is. When you save it, make sure file type as all files and file name as launch.css. After you save the launch.css, delete embedded CSS from launch.html. Then insert the link element. REL stands for relationship. Style sheet means we are linking a style sheet to HTML. To connect the CSS file, you should apply folder structure. If the CSS is in parent folder, you should put // in the path. If the CSS is in subfolder, you should put subfolder name / in the path. You can connect the same launch.css to many different HTML files. Also, you can link many CSS files to one HTML file. This is the result of connecting launch.css to all three HTML files. In this activity, you will control each individual paragraph with each class name. If there are several paragraph elements, you may want to control each paragraph element differently. As an example, each paragraph element may have a different color. To control each of them, you should use class property for each of P in the HTML file. If you do not specify class, then that P will follow upper element settings and default settings. We call this as inheritance. Generally, select P inherits body element. This is an example of inheritance. To control each P, you should use the name of class in CSS file. So P is a general selector. If you want to format green tea P, then you should use p.greent as the selector for the P. You may validate a CSS file from W3C CSS validation webpage. Styling with fonts and colors. You will learn various formats of text including font, color, size, and style from Chapter 8. Prepare journal.css and connect it to journal.html. Use more properties. Property names are intuitive, so I don't think I have to explain one by one. These are examples of font family. Read it from textbook and class presentation PDF file. Serif has some curve at the end of a character. Sans means not. So sans serif means not or without serif shape. There are a lot more properties and values for font. I have listed them for you to practice. There are so many options on color. However, I want you to remember that on the monitor, you only use three colors, red, green, and blue. Each color can be expressed as percentage 0 through 100% or as decimal number 0 through 255 or hexadecimal number 0 through FF. Hexadecimal number is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, A, B, C, D, and EF, where A is 10, B is 11, C is 12, D is 13, E is 14, F is 15. You will get it later in Module 6. This is the finalized journal.css to submit. Submit internal URLs of these files. This is the end of Module 3-1. From this module, you used Notepad++. You also studied CSS for formatting. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet. It is a simple mechanism for adding style, font, color, spacing to web documents. You may have embedded CSS inside the HTML with the style tags, or you may connect individual CSS file to HTML file using link tag. See you on next lecture.